With everybody's mom, uncle, tias, and tios concerned about the housing market, it would be great to talk to someone who's been through this. Oh, wait. There's literally thousands of people that survived the 2000 market housing crash. So this Redditor actually just made a post saying, hey, 2008 housing crash people, what ended up happening to you? And I read every single response. In today's video, we're going to be analyzing them, seeing who are the winners, who are the losers, and more importantly, what can we learn from them so we can make better decisions for our home buying or home selling or waiting to home buy or home sale. The first common response that I saw are the people that decided to hold on to for dear life. They did not sell. They bought a house, they saw their house values go up or down, and they just like a rocking ship just held on to whatever they could grab. A lot of common agents and lenders will tell you, hey, as long as you own for a long time, you're gonna be 100% okay. Let's see if that's actually the case. My parents bought right before the crash. My dad joked for a decade that he paid the most out of anyone in the neighborhood to live there. Now houses are selling for twice what they paid for, and I think they're doing all right. Still in the same house, value bounced up and down for the first few years, then up, up, up. Went down a little when rates jumped last year, 10%. It's now worth 4 times what we paid. It's still a great house in my preferred area, so no regrets. Refied when rates were 3%. Still plan to pay it off right before retiring, but not making any extra principal payments or anything at the moment. Still in the same house in the same place I was stuck. If you take into account inflation and all the repairs, I'm still not really ahead. Rented it out for over 5 years when I moved somewhere else, which induced a great deal of repairs upon returning. I was basically 35 to 40% upside down on this house due to a collapse in the local economy. The economy came back, but the neighborhood, rural, and the type of house, large family style, was not very popular. Bought a house then, market immediately crashed. I think it was 11 years before the house was worth what we paid for. Now it's worth a lot more than we paid for it. So it more or less worked out fine. We got lucky. We had an arm, but we locked in early to keep a good rate. The drawback was that we were planning on being on our starter home and upgrading, as it's a bit small. But by time we could break even. The kids were 12 or so, and by the time we could have made a profit and bought some other house, they were teenagers, so we figured there was no point no more. So this is our house now. I'm not really upset about it, just a little jealous though. My sister bought about 5 years before me in the run up to the bubble. She bought and sold 2 houses in that time, making about $125K profit on each, doing nothing other than moving. So she has a much nicer house than me because she made $250K in her first years of home ownership, while I lost $150K in 10 years. So that last one really drives a point home. There's 2 things that you really have to set yourself up for, okay, if you're in this camp. Of course, you're not getting into this long-term situation without considering that you can actually afford the house, right? So you can comfortably afford the monthly payment, and you're going to be able to hold on for the next 10, 20 years. But the 2 things you need to really be concerned and protect yourself from is the comparison game, and if you're one of those people that check their value every month. Because let me tell you what, there's going to be a lot of people, a lot of tios and tias and primos and cousins and your cousin Edgar and all these foos and cuz and everything, that they're going to be buying a bunch of houses. If there ever is an adjustment and it goes back up again, they're going to be buying a bunch of houses here and making a ton of money. But that's not because they're smart. It simply is because they're lucky. Okay, anybody who bought a house between 2011 to 2020, maybe they bought 2020, 2021, and then sold around 2022 at the very tip top. All they are is lucky. But let me tell you what, my friends, that dumb luck goes the other way around. There's also a lot of people who are buying houses right now that they cannot afford. And unfortunately, they're going to be a contributing factor to all the foreclosures that might happen down the road. People who run on luck eventually run out of luck. The second thing is, if you're one of those people that check their values every month, you're going to put yourself under a lot of stress. You're going to be waiting 10, 15 years, yes, to sell and buy or to do whatever. But if you're constantly checking the value of your house, you're going to see this right here. Oh, wait, see this? I hit it well. I can't find it. There you go. You're going to have a bald spot like me, bro. I can shave my beard, you can't tell. You're gonna have white in your beard. You're gonna stress yourself out, and you're gonna be like, yeah, I sold 10, 15 years later and I made okay, but you're gonna be so stressed and anxiety ridden that you're just not gonna enjoy yourself. So if you're going to be one of those people that are checking your home value like it's a profit and loss statement every month, every quarter, then don't buy right now, because you're going to be miserable for the next 10, 15 years. I think that's really interesting, the consumerism that our society has accepted, that we all want to upgrade our house every time we have a kid or two. And quite frankly, I know she doesn't watch my videos, so no one tell on me, please. I'm going to call out my wife a little bit. No one tell on me. If I find out that she watches the video, I'm gonna go find you guys, and I won't do anything, but I'll be very upset with you. She's always like, "Oh, we're gonna have more kids. We need more bedrooms. We need more bedrooms." And I'm like, we you don't need, like, every kid doesn't need his own bedroom and gym. Like, you can make it work. This family that we just read about had kids to teenagers, and yes, they could have used the extra space, but they made it work just fine. You don't have to keep upgrading your house every 2 or 3 years. Get something that could work for the foreseeable future and stay put. So overall, are they winners or losers? I would say winners financially, maybe. Losers mentally, because I feel like none of these people are really happy about it. They could just say, yeah, it worked out for us, but like they came out like all grizzled and like white haired and balding. You're like, oh God, yeah, we're fine. You know what I mean? Now, the second most common response I saw are the people that just said, you know what, I'm backing out. I'm not going to buy, or they took a loss at some point, whether either it was right after they bought or sometime when things were really low. They took a loss. They took a 2 or 3 year to get their credit back in shape, and they bought when things were super low. Let's see what turned out for them and if they're winners or losers. Sold that home for a $50,000 loss in 2014. The new home we purchased has appreciated by $350K. Our old home broke even in 2022. So now it's finally worth $75K more than we purchased it in 2005. Cutting our losses was 100% the right decision. That's an interesting scenario. So first house they bought, they sold it when values went here. They bought another house, and the house increased $350K in value. And the original house, even at the same time, went not only back to its original value, but it's worth $75K more, which is like a quarter of what they made. That tells me that first area wasn't really good. That's crazy that they bought in the same-ish area. I don't know if they bought the same-ish area. Maybe it's a different area. It really proves to show, because as a side note, if you really want to buy the right area, right type of house, right type of area, and if you've hit gold on all those, then just stay put. Because like this person, if they would have stayed in that first house, maybe there's something off with the area that, I don't know, something seems off about those numbers, but let's keep going. Sold that turd in 2019 for about 10% more than I paid for in 2008. Bought a great house in my preferred neighborhood. Will take a lot for me to move now. Well, it sold many years later, but they sold eventually. I bought a townhouse in 2006, somehow escaped that disaster. I sold it exactly what I paid for. I dumped it around 10K into putting into it. A few months after I sold it dropped in value. It made me extremely cautious. I saved all my money, and in 2015, bought a foreclosure for 110K. I put 60K in a lot of my own blood, sweat, and tears. Now she's about to list it for 400K. We bought a 3-year condo right before the bubble burst. They changed the terms of our loan after we showed up to sign it, balloon payment and all interest payments for the first 10 years. Totally legal now, and we got the don't worry, you can refinance in a year. First time buyer. Sound familiar? We couldn't refinance. We hung in there for 13 years. I tried to get my husband to walk away at 10 years, but he refused. We were still underwater when my husband literally lost his mind. Had a med-induced manic episode. Ouch. He was undiagnosed bipolar 2. During the split, we did a short sale. He was diagnosed. A while after that, we got back together. It's been about 5 years. We're in escrow now. Credit is good. We couldn't get a Fannie Mae loan because of short sale 5 years ago. We had an FHA. So we have mortgage insurance. Our payment will be less than condo, about $1,000. Interesting. Bought in 2004 and short sold in 2009. Rented for 3 years and was fortunate enough to buy a house again in 2012. Short sale only hurts your credit for 2 years, and I was able to change jobs and more money. My husband bought a condo in 2008. We sold it in 2013 for a $5K loss. I guess in the grand scheme of things, not terrible since we're sitting on $250K of equity in our current house for buying in the before times. See, it's like that quote from Steve Jobs. You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. And it's so true because 100%. They backed out and they made what's called a terrible financial decision when they decided to leave their house or like sell it at a loss, right? But by buying another house when things were super cheap and then decided to sell when things were higher again, they may be considered smart. It's all complete luck. Okay. If you are in the game to make as much money from the profit or sell of your home, then you buy when things are cheap, you sell when they're expensive. So right now it's just a no buy market for you because houses are just plain too expensive. As a matter of fact, that's fine because we don't need investors in this market right now. You can just go buy and sell gold or something. I hear crypto's coming back. You can go do that. But if that's your end all be all, where you're like, I'm buying this house and this house is going to be the only investment I have, or going to be a key investment in my portfolio, and I'm going to sell my house and this is what's going to feed my kids if I ever die down the road or whatever, then it's not the time for you to buy. These people all got very lucky and they did sell and they took a loss on their house, but then they repaired their credit and they sold, they bought and got in a very good situation for them, but they can't connect the dots looking forward, only backward. They didn't intentionally plan like, yes, we're going to do this and we're going to foreclose and short sell and then we're going to make a bunch of money. No, it all just happened to just work out for them. Why did they originally foreclose though? Like a lot of them had divorces going on. They had major life events. That happens. And let me tell you something, even if you're in a perfectly great situation that you in a house you can afford and you have a bunch of equity, if there's a divorce happening, that things are going to get messy. Whether you owe a lot on your house or you owe nothing on your house, you should expect some kind of resistance and kind of, like I said, messiness, because that's just how life is, especially when there's like divorces and whatnot. But the lesson I get from these people is they weren't necessarily trying to time the market for them to be financial geniuses. They just they couldn't figure out the payments of their house. Like I remember during the 2013 and 15, that a lot of people that I was helping buy were just people that are like, yeah, it's like $1,200 a rent or $1,200 a buy. I just got my credit fixed from the short sale I did 3 years ago. I guess we'll buy. It's the same monthly payment, so I guess it makes sense. So they kind of just fell into all this equity. So yes, technically there are winners. They technically won in this situation, but they got very lucky. And like I said earlier, thing about lucky people is that luck eventually runs out. And if you think you're going to be one of those lucky people, the only way to really make this foolproof is if you do not own, you skip out on the first part where you don't ever buy now, you just wait for things to crash. Now, when those things are going to crash, I don't know. I'm currently on my local channel. I'm analyzing every city every month just to kind of give market data, because I'm still a practicing agent here in Phoenix, and I like to know all the markets in my cities: Goodyear, Phoenix, Litchfield Park, Chandler, Gilbert, and everything. And there's some cities that have high active listings, low pending numbers that statistically should be crashing, but are not. And I think the reason they're not is because their sellers are giving a lot away right now. Like there'll be 10 houses that sell for $450K, and each one of them are giving 30, 40, 50K in concessions. And yes, on paper, it says it's sold for $450. So the market's doing okay, but the buyers are getting a lot in return. You know what I mean? So a lot of this stuff is being propped up by a lot of things that are out of our control. So if we keep waiting around for the market to crash, I don't know when that's going to happen. I think the best lesson to learn from these, in the words of one of these comments, reading all these stories, everyone should learn to not stress about what the world at any given time, and patience in life is key. And basically, those are the two main responses that people have for the survivors, right? And if you notice, they're both winners. You can't judge a victory by one battle. Because if you ask those people that lost their house in 2012, 13, if they're winners or losers, they're going to say, I'm a loser. I lost my house. I'm a complete failure. But eventually it paid off for them. So you guys that are looking into housing, you're interested in this, you're watching this video, you're watching other videos about the housing market crash, if it's going up or down or whatever, and you guys are really tuned into the market, good for you. But ultimately, it's never going to feel like the right time to buy. It's always going to be terrifying. And if you're preparing for a market crash, save your money, save your cash. But for everybody else, please don't buy unless you can afford your monthly payment. You buy under your means. You can afford your down payment. Your house isn't your only investment. There's a strong sense of urgency of buying. Like you're not just buying just because it's cool to buy. You want to flex on your primos on Instagram. Like you're buying because you have a strong urgent need to move right now. And it makes sense to move right now because houses are to mortgage for a house is about the same to rent one. So you might as well own it. So there has to be all these factors. Let's buy intelligently right now. These darn investors ruined it for all of us over the last, I'd say, decade. Stupid HETV on their damn flip shows. All these damn flippers and wholesalers are here making our houses into investments, and it just made it super expensive for all the rest of us. So let's let them crash and burn. Let's let them lose as much money. Hopefully everyone else, go buy under your means, go buy under list price, get your concessions, do things right, and do not do things intelligently, okay? All right, home go homies, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. See you on the next one.